We got another Patreon review here. This is a request from Bobby, Once Upon a Time in America from 1984. We're gonna hop into this episode movie breakdown. But before I get started, is there a review you want me to do? Let me know. Please put in the comment section below and I get to the best I can. Also Patreon, Patreon/Zakka for $2 a month. Get a cut in front of everybody, get your review out way before it come out on Facebook and YouTube. Now, let's go ahead and hop into today's episode, 1984's Once Upon a Time in America, starring Robert De Niro. And what is this movie about? Well, this movie is about a former gangster who has been called back to his home state of New York, where he has to learn who is reaching out to him, but why he's back in town. His past history of him being a young teenager and a young man as a gangster, and his rise during the Prohibition era comes back to him, and he has to relive his story and his journey and the friends he lost and the bloodshed that's happened and the relationships that didn't make it through or failed to make it through. He relives all that till he finds out who really is the person who reached back out to him and comes to the final conclusion of his story. That is the gist of Once Upon a Time in America. Now, what did I like? I liked the music score. The music score was far in between, but when it was necessary, the music score kicked in and you knew anytime the music was playing, some tension or something was going to happen. I like that. The acting was good. I love the acting in this movie. I think everybody did a great and excellent job. Props to the whole cast. I feel like they all went 110% in. The costume design and the direction by the director, where like how certain camera angles set up and everything was done, was good. You knew you was in the 1930s, the 1920s, the 1910s. Like, you knew what time place you was at. Even in the 1960s, where the present day the movie take place in, you knew the time frame, you knew the time era, you saw it all there. Like, all that was done really, really well. The dislike I have for the movie is that this movie is 4 hours and 11 minutes long. Yes, I watched the director's cut and it was long. At first I was like, oh, this hour movie would be probably like 90 minutes, maybe an hour, 2-hour movie, 2-hour, 20-minute movie. No, the non-director cut is 3 hours and 47 minutes, and then the actual director's cut is 4 hours and 11 minutes, and I'm like, all right. This movie even had an intermission in it. Like, I have a DVD set and it got an intermission, and I was like, they tell me to stop and take a break and come back. I'm like, what is going on here? And the pacing of the movie is kind of off. The movie pacing is really slow at times, where it's time where you see like characters just walking and looking at stuff and nothing's really moving here. You're just like watching a character like kind of walk through a museum. Like, you watch somebody walk through a museum and they walk in like taking their time. That's what it felt like in the movie when it comes to pacing. The movie opens up with a banger, and if you watch my anime reviews or certain horror movie reviews, I don't like killing or like just visuals for no reason. I need a reason behind it. And the movie opens up like a brutal scene, and you're like, okay, where we going with this? Where we going with this? All right, cool. We get to a death scene. All right, and then we go to Robert De Niro's character Noodles in the present day, and he's returning home. But I was like, the beginning of it kind of a slow setup. It doesn't really just grab you into it. The scene might be horrific, and if you watch a bunch of gangster movies or seen movies where people get beat up on, you're like, there's nothing new. But there has to be a reason behind this. It just can't be like, oh, we're doing this and that's it. And somebody's like, well, there was a reason behind it. It was out to get somebody. Yes, they was out to get somebody. But you really don't find that out until the end of the movie. And you're like, I spent 4 hours to get to this point where the final conclusion is like, dude, I'm out the light. I'm not doing this anymore. Peace. Like, over the movie for that payoff was kind of like, But the acting and the middle pieces here and there, when the movie did pick up tension, grab me into it, just a lot of it was just few and far between, where it just didn't need to be necessary. Like, him as a young adult, as a teenager, is necessary to the movie, but there's scenes in the movie I just feel like there just was not. That's like, I didn't need to see a whole scene of him taking advantage of a woman and they're robbing somebody and he's like just gonna have his way. Where I didn't need to see that. Didn't need to see that. Didn't need to see the scene where he's taking advantage of his lover, and there's things in this movie that I just didn't need to see. and it was just unnecessary to me. I'm just like, why these scenes in this movie? What reason are we getting out of this? Like, you can show them, abusing somebody, taking advantage of somebody, and move on. Like, there's certain scenes where I just felt like the movie dragged out way too long, and it didn't need to be dragged out. There are scenes where just walking and sitting down, talking or speaking around each other's words. Where like, man, I got a letter. A letter from who? Well, did you not get it? Well, everybody got that letter. Look when they receive. Oh, well, I don't know who it is. Who do you think it could be? Like, there's scenes and dialogue in the movie where it just felt like they were just stretching out and they didn't need to stretch out. The pacing of this movie definitely something that I felt like really hurts the movie in the time frame of it being 4 hours and 11 minutes or 3 hours and 47 minutes. You're watching the cut version, the 4 hour 11-minute movie. I feel like it's just really dragged out for no reason. But if I watched this movie in 1984, at a time where movies are this slow pace, like The Godfather, which y'all saw my Godfather review, and a lot of people hate that review because I didn't really care for that movie. I could not get invested into The Godfather. This movie, I sat through it. I tried to get invested, and it didn't work for me. But like a movie like Casino worked for me. I love Casino. I love King of New York. That worked for me. I loved what's the name of the movie? I forgot it, with Wesley Snipes in it, and it just left me. Oh, New Jack City. Love that movie. But this movie just didn't do it for me. However, I can see why people who watch these kind of movies, who watch gangster movies, will love this movie. This movie is like, if you love this era, and you love this time, you love this pacing, and Robert De Niro is like one of the most gangster actors of all time. Like, this is his role. You're gonna love this movie. Joe Pesci, I messed his name up, is in this movie as well. You're gonna love this movie. So I see why people love this movie, but I also see why people would dislike this movie. And I'm in the middle right now on this movie. Let's go ahead and get into the actors and actresses and directors and whatnot. So director was Sergio Leone. And the writers, this movie is based off a book by Harry Gray called The Hoods. Screenplay was by Leonardo Benvenuti and Piero Di Bernardi, who also did the screenplay. The cast, Robert De Niro, who played Noodles, good job for him. James Woo, who plays Max, good job by him. Elizabeth McGovern, who played Deborah, good job by her. Trent Williams played Jimmy O'Donnell, good job by him. Frankie, who played by Joe Pesci, good job by him as well. Like, the acting and cast is great. I don't have anything bad to say about the cast. I feel like everybody did a good job. The box office in this movie, the budget was $30 million, and it made worldwide $5 million. This movie didn't make any money. Interesting. Wow, they actually didn't make any money. This is gross worldwide. So $30 million estimated, on gross $5 million. That seems off to me. I feel like they should have had more money. Opening weekend, they only got $2 million. And this is from IMDb. I feel like this is kind of off. I don't feel like that's right. But there's the facts. There's the facts. Any other thoughts about this movie? I already talked about the music. I already talked about the story itself wasn't a bad story. Like, the fact you go back into different times and you're reliving your story, like the main character Noodles reliving his story. That wasn't a bad story. I feel like it's really dragged out and unnecessary. Didn't really need to be. This movie could have been a 2-hour and 40-minute movie or a 2 hours and 20-minute movie and been perfectly fine. I don't think you would have missed any of the beats in this movie. I think with the movie being, him coming back home, you can open up with like the murder scene and everything, but then him coming back home to meeting his friends and then reliving his childhood for, a good solid, 30 minutes, and then him reliving his, young adult age when he's the top guy in New York. You can do that like another 30 minutes, and then, the final conclusion. I didn't even do the full 2 hours and 20 minutes. There's time in there that you can mess with. Like, let's say the opening is 20 minutes, and let's say 30 minutes there, so that's 50 minutes, another 30 minutes on top of that. That's 100. It's 120 minutes that you have there, and then you could play around with this. Like, I feel like the movie could have gave the story a little bit better, and they just shortened the time frame down. But let's go ahead and look at this. Is I don't review. I don't ever look at somebody else's review, but I actually want to look at somebody else's review for this one movie because my grade is going to be different from what this person get. So this review comes from IMDb, and the guy who did it is Philip Vander Vinken, who, this on September 18, 2004, when he put this review up. It's still one of the highest reviews on this movie on IMDb. So he said, make sure you get the director's cut. He gives it a 10 out of 10. People compare Once Upon a Time in America with The Godfather. In my opinion, these two movies cannot be compared. Both are masterpieces in their own way, but each of them has a different style. He said, what it makes this movie a masterpiece? Well, first, there's the director. Sergio Leone is a real master when it comes to creating special atmosphere, full of mystery, surprises, and drama. He's one of the few directors who understand the art of cutting a movie in such a way that you can still stay focused until the end. So, once I said, the directing there, the time frame, like you knew exactly what was going on. He said the way this movie is cut is the reason why a lot of Americans don't think this movie is very special. There are 3 versions, but only the European version is the one the director imagined it to be. He didn't want the movie to be shown in chronological order, so 1910s, 1930s, 1960s, but he wanted to mix these 3 periods of time. The studio cut the movie into a chronological order, losing a lot of his originality and therefore getting a lot of bad critics. If you see this film the way Sergio Leone saw it, it would make sense. You have to make sure you get the director's cut. I don't think I got the director's cut now looking back. I think I got the extended edition. Not the director's cut, but the extended edition. I might pull the DVD cover in this review so y'all can see what I watch. The second reason is this movie is great is the music. I think the music is great too. The music is... anytime you heard the music score of this movie, it definitely... you knew something was going on. Ennio Morricone, who is Morricone, I might have said it right, who is seen as the greatest writer of film music ever, this is a guy's opinion, did an excellent job. Together with the images, the music speaks for itself in this movie. From time to time, there isn't a set of words, but the music and the images of their own tell the story. Leone, I feel like it's Leone, it's not Lionel. No, not Lionel. Leone. Leon. Maybe Leon. Sergio Leone wanted to compose most of the music even before the movie was shot. And then last but not least, there's also acting and script. The actors all did an excellent job, but what else can you expect from actors like Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci? They helped make this movie as great as it is by putting their best effort in. The script helped them with it. And I really recommend this movie to anyone, but especially those who like gangster genre. When you want to see the movie, you better be sure you have the time for it. This isn't a movie that is finished after 90 minutes. You have to be able to stay focused during 3 hours and 47 minutes, which is certainly not easy for the first 20 to 30 minutes. Some of the scenes at the beginning only make sense when you have seen the end of the movie, but when you're able to stay focused, you'll find this one is one of the best movies you've ever seen. I certainly did, and I was rewarded with a well-deserved 10 out of 10. I want to give his whole review on there. There's a few lines I left out where he's doing more of his thought process of it. Like, for example, where he was like, you wouldn't compare Picasso to Michelangelo's Sistine Chapels either, do you? Like, that was a thought of his. But this guy right here, he loved the movie for all the reasons that I thought the movie was good. Like, for him, this made the movie 10 out of 10. For me, it doesn't do the same. But we're kind of on the same thought process there, how this movie goes. I just want to give you somebody else's who loves gangster movies and give you the thought process on it, because this dude, me and him had the same idea when it came to movie. The acting is good, the music is good, but he doesn't knock the movie for the length of it. I am going to knock the movie for the length of it and pacing of it. I am sorry. As a matter of fact, before I hit into the last piece, let me go and get the DVD cover real quick. All right, here we go. Here's the cover. I actually got the extended director's cut in this movie here. So that's the version that I got, the extended director's cut. And I just felt like that length was unnecessary. All right, is this a Friday night movie? Nah, I don't think it's a Friday night movie, especially if you don't got 4 hours. Just like trying to watch Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, if you don't got the time, don't do it. And I don't think a movie should be cutting up where you have to take a pause break and come back to watch a movie. That's just unnecessary. Like, the movie, you should sit down, finish your movie, and go on about your business. If I gotta sit here and watch it like a TV show, whew, that's a whole other story. All right, grading time. I'm gonna grade Once Upon a Time in America a solid C. It gets a 75% for me. I think the acting is solid. I think the score was good when it was needed and brought a sense of tension and tone to the movie. I felt like the story wasn't bad. I like the ideal of it. It's just the length and the 4 hours and 11 minutes that I watched the extended cut and 3 hours and 47 minutes of a movie, I just think is unnecessary. And that hurts the movie in my opinion. Especially when the pacing of it moves a little too slow. And he said if you don't capture it, matter of fact, Philip here said with the first 20, 30 minutes, I mean, if you're not capturing this movie within the first 20, 30 minutes, you have to sit through the movie for 30 minutes before you actually get into it. It can take, that's unnecessary. The movie should not be able to, the hook should not take 30 minutes to get you in for you're like, all right, now I'm invested. Now, there's parts of the movie where I came in and out, like younger Noodle storyline, I was good. And then when mid-adult came in, I was like teenager, his 30s, when he was in his 20s and 30s, I was like, I can take it. But yeah, the movie gets a C for me, a 75%. I think if somebody watching 1984 and you compare this to Godfather, I can see why you can do the comparison because these movies, the pacing of the movies and how they play out is just as long. But for me, it gets a C. It gets a C, 75%. Just the pacing of the movie, how it moves, and the length of it just really hurts it for me. Where I'm just like, you could have done this within 2 hours and 20 minutes. 2 hours and 30 minutes. You didn't have to do a whole 4-hour movie. IMDb gives this movie a 8.3 out of 10. And Rotten Tomatoes gives this movie an 87%. The critics give it 87% out of 100, so that is a B+. And the audience gives it 93%. That's an A-. So they love this movie. To me, I give this movie a solid C. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a movie that you might not be able to sit through, but it's fine. It is a fine movie. I think the acting is good. So yeah, if you see Once Upon a Time in America, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys in the next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.